So I saw Avengers Endgame last night with my wife. Now, I didn't hate it, okay? It's a little strong to say that I hated Avengers Endgame, but I don't really like throwing cold water on people's favorite movies and the things that they love a lot. Well, I won't say I don't like doing it. I don't enjoy it more than I should.
Today we get political. No, not really. But we are going to actually, we saw a video up the other day over...
it was like a week or two ago.
Like a week or two ago after Avengers Endgame came out. Mm-hmm. And it was over Ben Shapiro's. I don't know if anybody knows who Ben Shapiro is. He's a pretty big guy in politics and stuff like that. He put up a review over Avengers Endgame, and we decided to watch it because it was up there, and we're trying to just see what he thought about it. And we realized that this is one of the worst reviews over this movie I've seen. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and play this video and see what we have to say. We've already watched it, so we already know what we're gonna say. So.
It basically destroys all of the main characters that you actually care about in favor of a bunch of characters you don't. It's got the Star Wars problem.
Star Wars, they created new characters.
Yeah.
Right? They created new characters, so then you have to get used to them, then it kills it off. And even that, I don't really mind. But in the MCU, these are characters that are already loved.
Yeah, exactly.
Spider-Man and all those people.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, I mean, Captain Marvel, I know that's a controversial one, but I don't mind her.
Yeah.
But you still have a bunch of other characters, not even just Captain Marvel. You have all those others, as I said, including a lot of others. So it's not just that they killed off a lot of characters and then you're just left with a bunch you don't care about. They built up characters already.
Yeah, exactly. And these were, I mean, let's not even act like the beginning of the MCU was anything that people cared about at the beginning of it. You know, that was started off with characters that people didn't really care about. Technically, if by his logic, I mean, you're creating a new saga now. So I mean, it kind of makes sense, and it doesn't kill off everybody. In fact, I'm pretty sure one or two of the old people, like I think Thor, has already signed the contract for like 5 more movies.
Oh yeah, and then you have Bucky, the Winter Soldier.
So Falcon. I mean, and these are people that were kind of nicely put into movies as the franchise went along, so you can get to know them and get to care about them. It's not just movies.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, it's not like they just kill people off and then add new characters.
Yeah.
It relies on the nostalgia that you have for the last 16 films.
Even if you don't know how much there is, I think it's pretty easy to figure out how many movies there are.
It's just like one Google away.
Yeah, and considering, I think most of the trailers for this movie said 20-second film, and everybody's saying 20-second film, and you go off and say 16 movies, you know, and there's later on, whenever you watch, you're like, maybe he only thought there were 16 movies.
It kind of like cuts down his credibility at the beginning of the video when that's his first point he makes.
Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, for all of his movies, the struggle for Iron Man has been not, do I go save the world or am I selfish? That's solved in movie 1, right? The rest of the movies are all about, will he settle down with Potts? Will he settle down? Will he build a family? Can he contain himself? Will he become a solid citizen? Right? That was the struggle of Robert Downey Jr. When was he going to grow up and be an adult? That was the question of Robert Downey Jr.
I guess, yeah, it's somewhat like, will he settle down with Pepper Potts? But I feel like that's kind of solved in certain movies and then kind of goes away. But at the end of the day, the problem is he going to save the world? It's not really settled in film 1. I mean, I figure he's talking about the Avengers. Because Avengers is actually the movie that started off his conflict of will he save the world. Yeah. You know? Avengers, he saves the world, but then he realizes, hey, I still need to save the world. Yeah. You know, there's still more to,
the world being destroyed and all of his friends dying.
Yeah.
So he has this kind of nightmare. Like throughout the rest of the time after Avengers. Yeah. Of like he knows something's coming, but he doesn't know what it is or how to stop it.
Yeah. Not only that, but then at the end of Avengers, whenever he gets the missile and sends it off into space, he sees what he's actually going against.
Right, this giant army of
aliens. Yeah. And he realizes that, hey, I need to figure out how to save the world. You know. In the Age of Ultron is whenever he actually creates Ultron to save the world. Right. You know? I mean, unless he didn't see Age of Ultron, which, I mean, he said 16 movies, so maybe not. But, I mean, Age of Ultron was him creating Ultron to protect the world. And then after Age of Ultron, he realized, I didn't protect the world. I almost destroyed it. And then that was another conflict that even created more bigger conflict of him almost destroying the world while trying to protect it. Right. And then he keeps on trying to save the world. That's his whole plan throughout the entire MCU, really.
And then it arises through really dumb coincidence. Hey guys, have you ever had the idea of time travel?
I also hate that he says dumb coincidence because they had that 5-year time jump to the point when that rat saves, steps on the button and saves Ant-Man. It's not just that they time jump to 5 years and then coincidence in that time frame that rat presses that button. They jump to that point because that's the point when it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not it is a coincidence, but it's not like it's a dumb coincidence.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing special was happening at that time except for the rat saved Ant-Man from the quantum realm.
Yeah. And it's not really a thing of like, hey guys, did you ever think about time travel? I mean, the only coincidence that was ever in that movie was the rat. The rat shot out him, and the rat shot out Scott Lang.
Yeah.
And because of that, Scott Lang thought of it. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why he thought of it.
Right.
You know, there's not actually like he's just like randomly was sitting there like, hey, what about time travel?
Yeah, no, exactly.
You know, he was in the quantum realm for 5 years. He realized that he felt like it was 5 hours. So to him, maybe we could get shot out at a different time.
They present this choice. It's ready to be made. The stakes are, do you go back and change the past and thus lose what you have built for yourself in the aftermath of you becoming a mature human being? Lose a daughter. Do you sacrifice your own daughter to save the world? Right? That's a real moral choice. But then they obviate that choice in the next 30 seconds of the film, where they explain that if they go back and change the past, it won't actually change this timeline, and therefore Tony Stark's kid will still be alive, and his wife will still be alive, and everything will be hunky-dory.
I will say what the point that he brings up could have been a fascinating storyline. But with like he explains that the time travel rules that they have, what they did in the past doesn't change the present. It just creates an alternate timeline. So what they do in the past isn't going to take away his family. But at the same time, that's not his decision that he's making at the beginning of Endgame. He's having to decide, should I risk my life again? Because, time travel, nobody's done time travel before.
Yeah.
There's so many things that could go wrong. He could literally be stuck in the past. Should he risk his life one more time when he's finally settled down for 5 years, has a daughter, has Pepper, he's out of the superhero game, everything. Should he go back into it and risk his life again, knowing that there's so many things that could go wrong, or should he just stay with his family?
Not only that, he does lose it. He dies.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a sad ending, but it's an ending that they went for. They did it.
Right.
They killed him off, and now he doesn't have his daughter. The stakes could have been high of losing the daughter, but at the same time, you do have the stakes of him just completely kind of dying and losing everything.
Yeah.
And they do. He dies, and for the good of everyone else. But at the same time, he doesn't have his daughter anymore. His daughter doesn't have her father anymore. You know, so it's still the stakes were still there, just not in the same way that he was wanting, in the same way that would have been maybe actually really interesting, but not really that much of a cutback for either of quality.
The problem with Captain America's character is they've always gotten it wrong. So Captain America is basically John McCain. He's supposed to be this crotchety old guy in a young guy's body, a man out of time. Captain America has never felt like a man out of time to me. He's just felt like generic superhero who's kind of dopey and a good guy. Right? That's the way Chris Evans has played him. And this isn't just because Chris Evans dislikes me.
Chris Evans dislikes me.
Chris Evans apparently, the people who write the script basically felt that he would just be like any normal guy.
I feel like this is actually a pretty easy thing to understand. Well, in Captain America, in the first Avengers movie, he's obviously like from a different time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
They make a pretty big point about it.
Yeah, and people aren't just these kind of stagnant beings,
Right.
to where they're born in one time and like later on they're like, oh, what's like if you brought me to the future or the past, I would be like, oh, this is a little weird, but I get used to it. A lot of people, this is kind of obvious thing, is if they move to another country,
Right.
they'll be able to learn the language. They'll be it's a little hard at first, but after a while they'll learn the language. They'll learn the completely different culture.
Right.
But when we're talking about Captain America here, he is in the same country.
Yeah, he doesn't have to learn a different language or anything.
Yeah, he doesn't really have to learn a new culture. Maybe a little bit here and there.
Right.
But overall, it's nothing that big. Maybe pretty much the only thing he needs to learn is how to talk a little bit more like this. The slang, it's a lot different. But it's still the same English words. If you were to use a slang back then and talk to us sometimes, not all the time, Maybe we'd understand them still. And also like technology and stuff like that, which is easy stuff for people to learn, even from a huge jump. And why would he act like an old crotchety man in the first place? He's still a young man.
Yeah, especially since Endgame takes place in 2023.
Yeah.
Because there's that 5-year time jump. So it's like, what, 11 years after he's been in this world for 11 years.
Yeah.
He's not going to keep feeling like he's from the 40s.
The person who I really couldn't stand what they did with him was Thor. So what they did with Thor makes no sense on a character level. So I understand you guys wanted the joke. You wanted Thor with the dad bod. Got it. Okay, you want him to be fat and burp a lot and be Big Lebowski. Okay, it's funny for the first 5 minutes. And then this is not Thor. Right? We've had several Thor movies at this point. Thor's problem has never been lack of courage. It's always been that he is afraid that he does not have the moral fiber to be the leader. It's been that he's afraid of leadership. That's been his moral conflict, is that he's been afraid of leadership the whole time, and leadership has to be thrust upon him, and then he realizes he's a leader. But instead, they decided to go the direction of not that he doesn't want to take leadership, but that he's afraid to participate himself, that he won't even participate. And so they make him basically a drunk weakling.
Not even focusing on the trauma that he's had with his family and all that, but he had just lost to Thanos, who wiped out half the entire universe, and a good majority of the fault lied on Thor's shoulders.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that he's not wanting to go back and fight Thanos again.
Yeah, and he says Thor's main conflict was never a lack of courage. Yeah, maybe not, but like I said, like he doesn't understand that. Does he not understand that people change?
It doesn't seem like he understands character arcs.
Yeah, like people change. Thor, like you said, Thor went against Thanos 2 times, lost both times. The second time he lost against him, he lost everything. He even says what happened to Thor did not work on a character level, and yes, it did. It was just it was a big thing waiting to come.
Right,
you know?
and it's not like they didn't like shove it down your throat of what the reason was. You just had to watch the past movies, and make the connection of why Thor is like this yourself.
Yeah, maybe it was those 16 movies that he watched. And he missed quite a bit.
He missed a few movies.
Yeah, and because like I said, like we said, like he lost a lot of stuff. He lost his dad, he lost his mom, he lost his brother, he lost his best friend. He lost 2 of his best friends, actually. Yeah. Or 3, maybe.
A lot.
3.
But then he lost half his people.
Yeah, he lost his entire home. I think it was in Ragnarok, he's like, Asgard's not a place, it's a people. Right,
yeah.
As soon as he learns that, then he loses half his people.
Exactly.
And not just half of those people, he loses half of those people because of the snap.
Right.
You know?
And also, not even mentioning that in Infinity War, he mentions that he's 1,500 years old. And all this takes place within less than 10 years. Yeah. So, like, it's a super short time span in Thor's life. Yeah. That all this happens.
Yeah. He also he had to kill his sister. His sister he didn't realize he had until she was trying to kill him. Right. You know? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it's a lot of stuff of a lot of things slowly happening to the point where it just kind of breaks you down completely. And then this whole thing at the very end with him being pretty much responsible for the deaths of half the universe, it makes sense that he would completely go down and be down on himself. I mean, the beginning of the movie, he slices off Thanos' head, and it's no act of courage. Yeah. It's not an act of anything. It's a pure act of revenge and anger, and nothing else. And that was actually him cutting off the head and saying, "I went for the head." The hurt in his voice was his breaking of a character. Mm-hmm. You know, so I mean, it is definitely within the belief of a character to break down like this, considering he's lost probably more than anybody else has in the entire Avengers.
Right. Probably the entire universe, to be honest.
Exactly.
I was waiting for the point where Thor would just kind of take the hammer or the axe and slam it on the ground. The lightning comes and he's back to being old Thor, right? I was waiting for that sort of transformation. That never really happened.
Shut up! No, I hate that so much. Why would that happen? Why would that happen at all? That would completely break everything down.
Right. It would have been extremely cheap and unearned if like he just automatically went to being his old self again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a thing of, and also I feel like they're trying to create a lesson almost for other people. Right. Of like, you may feel down on yourself, you may feel awful about yourself, but you're still worthy of something. That's whenever he goes to his mom and she says that quote, like, I can't remember what it was.
People always feel that being who they're supposed to be, the measure of a person is how they
succeed at being who they are.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so that's who That's who, almost said Hulk. That's who Thor is at this moment, and that's who he should be. That's who he needs to succeed as.
Yeah, it's a process getting back to who you were.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's kind of a lesson. People can't just like slam a hammer down. They're back to being their old selves again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the lesson they're going for.
Yeah, he just has to succeed at being who he is then. Once he succeeds at being who he is then he has succeeded at being who he is then, and just keep succeeding until he becomes something better. And just keep doing that. If he would have slammed his hammer down, it would have been just became old Thor again, and it'd be like, well, the only way I can be worthy of beating Thanos or doing anything in life is to be who I was before all this depression and all this sadness that I went through.
Yeah, and you brought up how he realized he was still worthy. That's one of the coolest parts of the movie is whenever he's back in 2013 and on Asgard and he wields Mjolnir again, and he's like, yes, I'm still worthy.
Yeah.
Like, he legit didn't know if he was still worthy at that moment.
Yeah, he even like closes his eyes.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Chris Hemsworth can actually hold his own on screen. I don't think Chris Evans can. I think Chris Hemsworth can.
I just kind of think it's funny how you brought up earlier randomly that Chris Evans doesn't like him, even though it literally has nothing to do with this review.
Yeah, no, and then the little comment you made there just kind of shows that his opinions on Captain America are clouded by his opinions on Chris Evans.
Yeah, especially since like both of those statements on Chris Evans, both of those two statements are literally just randomly interjected into the review.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with it.
It's pretty obvious from the film that they wanted Anthony Hopkins to come back and do a scene with Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Hemsworth, they weren't able to get Hemsworth to do it, so instead they brought back Rene Russo for a conversation, and it really doesn't work fantastically well.
Thor already had a final moment with his dad when he knew his dad was about to die. He already had that moment. He didn't have a moment with his mom because his mom was murdered in Thor: The Dark World by Malekith, and he didn't know she was gonna die at that moment. So he never had that final moment with his mom. So I don't know why he's saying it doesn't work and that it should have been Odin when Thor already had that closing moment with his dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanos is built up in the first Avengers film as this guy with an interesting backstory and with an actual rationale. And now they bring us back to old Thanos, who still has that same mission, and they basically just turn him into Big Baddie. Right? Now he doesn't have an interesting backstory. Now he's just a sadist. And there's a line near the end of the film where he turns to Robert Downey Jr. or Captain America. I think it's maybe Captain America, and he says, your little planet, I'm going to enjoy destroying it. Okay, come on. Like, if you want to draw a good villain, then you can't just make them a sadist. Every bad villain, like Steppenwolf from Justice League, is just a sadist who wants to do bad stuff.
First of all, I just want to get really mad because he just compared Thanos to Steppenwolf from the Justice League. Thanos, he even says they took away his interesting background. They didn't take away his interesting background. His interesting background is still there.
Yeah, no, it's still the same character for the most part, except for it's 5 years in the future.
But. In Infinity War, he was the main character in that movie.
Right.
I mean, some people
protagonist.
may not completely understand that, but it's written as Thanos being the protagonist of that
the
film.
most screen time too.
Yeah. So you're watching a movie from the eyes of Thanos. You're not watching a movie from our eyes, from the good guy's eyes of seeing why is Thanos doing this. It's horrible. You're looking at Thanos and saying, and understanding it from his point of view, because he himself, I believe, has told himself this lie so much that the only reason he's doing it is for the good of mankind.
Right. He's
lied to himself so much about this that it's just become truth to him now, almost. To in reality, all he wants to do, the only thing he wants to do is be God.
Exactly.
He just wants to have complete control of everyone, of the lives of everyone, the deaths of everyone. He wants to have complete control over all of it. He's just an egomaniac, really. And I mean, to me, that doesn't really break down anything. That's still his character. It's still an interesting character of a character that's pretty much just told himself the same thing so much that he believes it, to where Infinity War, we believe it too. We believe he's doing things for good reasons. And I'm not going to say that it's not at all for the good of humanity in his mind. He's not at all thinking he wants to he still wants to get rid of poverty, and he still wants to get rid of famine. But at the end of the day, what he's really wanting to do is do it in a way to where he can kill as many people as he wants to, because he wants to be in control. It's why, like in Infinity War, because there's a big complaint in Infinity War, why did he not just make more resources, unlimited resources? Well, it's because if he made unlimited resources, then it would have just completely broken down that idea that he's good, because then he would have realized, hey, I didn't have to kill all those people
Yeah.
on all those other planets because that's evil, you know. So I really don't think it breaks down the character like at all.
Yeah, and also a big thing is that he even mentions in Infinity War, after he does what he's planning on doing, he can just sit down, look over a grateful universe. So he's pretty much told himself that the universe is going to be grateful this entire time. He's told himself this, and then when he realizes that they're not grateful and they're trying to reverse what he did, it completely like angers him inside.
Yeah.
Because they weren't grateful for what he did.
Yeah. So now that's why he's happy.
Yeah, and that's why he's seems like a sadist, but it's because he's angered by them not thinking that he's this great and powerful guy or great guy.
Yeah, and so that's why he's gonna that's why he wants to create a new world of people who feed his ego.
Right.
That's all he really is. Also, you have to realize that this is 5 years before. This is him. I don't think he's found one stone yet in Endgame.
Right.
And so this is him before finding one stone. This is 5 years. After 5 years of looking for things, it kind of humbles you to a certain point to where you're not acting as evil. Yeah. You know,
which I think it is 4 years because 2014 to 2018. So
oh, that's true.
I said 5 years earlier, but I meant 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. So I mean, he has been kind of humbled by his quest of looking for these stones at the same time.
Thanos was willing to sacrifice his own daughter for what he believed in. Right? Thanos, he's immoral, he's a bad person, but he's willing to make a sacrifice they don't even ask Robert Downey Jr. to make.
They don't, I don't know what he means by they don't ask Tony Stark to make the same decision as Thanos, because Tony Stark sacrifices himself.
Yeah. Also, he talks about he was able to sacrifice his daughter, and I don't really. This is kind of off topic. I think you actually read this post of they actually sacrificed like 2 or 3 things the Avengers did. In Infinity War, they didn't sacrifice anything,
right?
And that's why they lost. Whenever it came to Endgame, they sacrificed Black Widow. They sacrificed Tony Stark. Yeah. And because of that, they're able to win.
Right.
They're able to sacrifice those things. And so, I mean, they did sacrifice stuff. And like you said, Tony Stark sacrificed himself completely. So, I mean, he did have a sacrifice.
Carol Danvers, the Captain Marvel character, I just have to say that she's insanely boring. So I didn't actually see the Captain Marvel film. I'm intending on going and seeing it at some point. I didn't really feel the compunction to see it. But in any case, she's in the film, but she's basically a block of wood that breaks things. Right? That's what Carol Danvers does. She doesn't have any character. You don't know why she's there. You don't know her motivation.
I guess this is one of the 16 movies that he didn't see.
Right.
So I mean, so now we're down to him watching only 15 of these movies.
Right. Exactly.
But I like just saying that statement. I have not seen Captain Marvel means that he doesn't understand her.
Yeah.
And like I'm gonna say, I don't really. I understand some people not liking the movie. It's fine, you know. But to say that you don't understand her motive. Well, first of all, you don't understand her motivation. You know. I mean, you don't understand. You don't understand why Captain Marvel would want to kill Thanos.
Exactly.
That's what you don't understand the motivation of Captain Marvel wanting to kill Thanos. First of all, if you did watch Captain Marvel, you would see that she was friends with Nick Fury, and that's why she's down there. She wouldn't have even known about any of it if Nick Fury didn't page her, and then she came down there. But like, you haven't seen the movie, so like, I don't know why you're trying to act like she's this boring character and all this stuff, because you haven't seen anything from her.
Right.
You don't know what she's like. You don't even know if you like her as a character, because she's not really in Endgame that often. You know, and she doesn't really have that much of a reason to be in Endgame, you know?
Yeah.
Until the scenes that she's actually in.
And there's a scene where Thanos, who does not have the Infinity Gauntlet at this point, is fighting off Captain America and Thor and Iron Man. He's fighting off all 3 of them. Well, if you remember back to the first Avengers film, he barely holds off Thor alone, right? Thor shows up, and Thor nearly takes him out while he has the Infinity Stone. So if he doesn't have the Infinity Stones, he's basically just a big bad guy. So why are all 3 of them unable to take him out?
Well, that's a little different, considering he didn't have in Infinity War. Thor came straight at him and blasted at him with an axe into his chest.
Exactly.
Most people are a little weaker after getting hit in the chest with an axe. I don't know. I mean, maybe not Ben Shapiro. Maybe he's had his fair share of axe in the chest.
Maybe
injuries.
From the way he talks, it sounds like it.
Yeah, but like in Infinity War, he was hit straight in the axe, straight in the chest with an axe by Thor. That's why he wasn't able to hold off Thor very good, Ben Shapiro. And also, but he's a strong character. You see that why he's able to like completely just beat up
Right.
Hulk easily.
Exactly.
In Infinity War.
Right.
So that's why in this one it's kind of harder for him to fight off. It's harder for 3 people to fight him off because I mean, it's only 4 years, but he's a little younger. He's a lot meaner. He's a lot angrier.
And he has a full set of armor on.
Yeah.
In Endgame.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he has a full set of armor on. He's a lot angrier at these people because he just learned that they tried to redo what he did
Right.
by helping them out.
He's a little more ruthless because of that.
Yeah, and also he's not hurt. He doesn't have an axe in the chest in this movie. I mean, as far as I could see, he didn't have an axe in his chest in this movie. So I mean, there's a pretty good reason of why he was able to fight off those 3 and not fight off Thor in Infinity War.
And then there was the NFL ad recapitulation where they're trying to run the gauntlet between players, and it's like, oh, okay, I understand you're doing fan service. Look, there's Black Panther. Ooh, there's Spider-Man. Oh, look, they're handing it to this other character who we don't care about. Yay! And then they're just kind of throwing in the gauntlet just to remind you that all these characters exist.
How is it fan service when they're holding the Infinity Gauntlet and they're trying to get it back to the time machine?
Yeah,
To get the stones back to their rightful place.
Yeah.
How is that fan service? That's part of the plot.
Yeah. Not only that, unless it's stupidly outward, I don't see a problem with a little bit of fan service. I mean, I think even Chris Stuckman in his video said, like, why wouldn't you want to please your fans? Your fans are the reason why you were able to make Endgame.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not give it a little bit of fan service? And not just that, you brought them all to life, and there's a good reason why they're all there.
Yeah, and like once they're brought back into this battle, are they just gonna stand there and not do anything to help with the fight? Are you supposed to continue just showing the Avengers that were in the movie throughout the rest of the movie?
Yeah, exactly.
And just not show the rest of the Avengers that were brought back?
Yeah, they all know who Thanos is. They all already tried to fight him off in Infinity War. And Doctor Strange has the capability of bringing them all back. He already knows everything that's going to happen. He knows where everyone is. Yeah. So why not be able to do that? And what is the main characters you don't care about?
Yeah, no.
One of the characters was Spider-Man. Let's just bring that up real fast. Who is probably, I would say, unarguably the most popular character in Marvel.
Probably the most popular superhero ever.
Yeah, that's one of the characters that gets the Infinity Gauntlet. Black Panther. Everybody cares about Black Panther.
Yeah, no, it's like one of the biggest movies in the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, not only that, a lot of people loved it. It was nominated for an Oscar. I know some people don't feel that great about Oscar nominations, but it was nominated for one. It was a really good movie, really good characters. You know, it had a really good social impact. So I don't really understand what do you mean a character you don't care about, especially since Chadwick Boseman is one of the better actors in the MCU.
Exactly, and it's pretty obvious that he's going to be one of the superheroes that carries the rest of the MCU after this.
And there's a lot of more people who carry. I mean, like we said earlier, these are characters that have been built upon in the movie. They're not just randomly thrown into Infinity War.
Right.
All the characters in Infinity War the people they brought back. All the people in Infinity War were brought into the movies as the movies went along. They weren't just thrown in. You know, so these are characters we do care about. Maybe Ben Shapiro just doesn't know about it because he's only seen 15 movies.
They turn Thor into a loser, Captain America is boring, and Iron Man they don't give a full motivation and prohibit him from making a proper choice.
Yeah, Iron Man doesn't get a full motivation.
He's had the motivation built up since 2012 in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah, Captain America is honestly, I love Captain America. He's a character I didn't expect to like, especially from his very first Captain America movie. Mm-hmm. Captain America to me was one of the more like middle of the ground MCU movies, you know. And so, but then after that, he had like some of the best Marvel movies.
Exactly.
You know, and he turned out to be a really interesting character.
Kind of cheated with Civil War.
Yeah, but yeah, so,
it's still one of the best.
Yeah,
movies.
so I mean, him. I really don't like when people say he's boring because he's not really a boring character.
Yeah, especially Endgame. Endgame was the movie I liked him the most, and he's the most interesting in Endgame.
Yeah, like whenever he walks up single, like by himself, up to Thanos' army.
Exactly.
One of the most amazing
with a broken shield and everything.
Yeah, like whenever he just tightens it all the way up. It's one of the most amazing scenes. Like I love that scene. I don't really understand how people can say that he's really that boring. Tony Stark definitely has a fantastic motivation. I don't really understand what kind of motivation you're expecting, you know, and it's all there.
Oh, remember when they did that in this movie, and then we're flashing back to that movie now? Isn't that cool? Isn't that funny? And there's a lot of stuff there, but that's fan service. It's not filmmaking.
It's fan service. It's not film. It's all filmmaking. I mean, it's a really good, well-made film. Like I said, the fan service is there, but it's not like outright in your face. It's kind of just stuff of like it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool stuff to see, but it's not like some Star Wars movies, like some of them, or some other movies like in these franchises where they just throw stuff in
like
just to have it in.
Like C-3PO and R2-D2, they just like randomly pop up just so they can be in all the movies.
Yeah. Like literally some of the things you don't even notice until maybe like a second or third time watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, the on your left thing you understood the first time, but it's 3 words on your left. I mean, like it's not like an in your face thing. It's just kind of a thing of like, oh,
it's a natural
cool.
thing.
Yeah, it's a natural thing. It's cool. I mean, and it's kind of a funny thing because in the whole thing that's on your left thing is like they have like not really a competition, but it's kind of a thing. It's like, and he's finally saying it.
Right. Exactly.
You know? So I mean, it's not really that really big. I don't really understand why the fan service in this movie is really that bad. Fan service isn't bad unless it's right straight horribly in your face.
The only emotional resonance really is Iron Man's death, which I guess is what it was supposed to be. And even there, I felt like it was diminished somewhat by the fact that he basically just dies in a normal adventure story that could have taken place in any of the other Iron Mans.
And what do you mean it's a death that could happen in any Iron Man movie?
Right.
It's definitely not. Iron Man, this is the only movie where Iron Man wields the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, like one of, if not the most powerful weapon in the entire universe.
Yeah, so I mean...
and snapping away perhaps the most powerful army in the universe.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really understand that either. Like it's not a death that can happen in any Iron Man movie, especially since this is a death that's been built up since the first Avengers. Well, it's not since the first Avengers movie, but it's been built up. You know, everything that's happened has been built up since the first Avengers movie. Why would this happen in any Iron Man movie?
I don't feel the necessity to have a giant battle with all of the people in the universe at the end of every movie. I didn't like it at the end of Aquaman. I don't like it here. In fact, the battle was much more interesting when it was just a couple of people fighting before all of these things show up, before Doctor Strange unleashes the beast and all these people come walking through back from the dead.
But wouldn't that really just put down the power of Thanos?
Yeah, no, he was just complaining about them diminishing the power of Thanos.
Yeah.
But now he wants just the shorthanded team of the Avengers without half of the Avengers there to be able to defeat Thanos.
Yeah. Because the idea of Thanos being able to be brought down by just like these few characters, especially
when they couldn't beat them in Infinity War.
So that would completely diminish the power of Thanos. I think the problem with this video is Ben Shapiro. I mean, a lot of people don't like him, understandably. I'm not a huge fan of him either. But you know, there's no denying that he's a really smart guy.
Yeah,
he's a smart guy, but I almost feel like he just kind of thinks about how smart he is whenever we're watching these movies. So he just kind of tries to point out these points, but and then at the end of the day, he doesn't really understand. It doesn't really seem like he understands like movies that well. You know, he doesn't really know how to come up with these different complaints. It just seems like he's watching it and he's trying to come up with complaints, but whenever you listen to them all at the same time, they don't really make a lot of sense.
Right.
Well, guys, if you haven't already, we have a video before this one called "Why I Don't." I can't remember what it's called. Why I don't agree with the Avengers Endgame complaints or something like that. I'll put a link in the description below, and I'll put a link. Hopefully, I can put it somewhere in the video.
And we'll also put a link to the Ben Shapiro video that we're just watching in the description also.
Yeah, and I don't want to act like I disagree with I disagree with almost everything he said. There was a few little things here and there that I agree with, but overall, it just wasn't really that great of a review. It's one of the worst reviews I've seen in some time, actually. But if you want to, you can go over that video that I made. I just put it up last night or this morning, depending on how you want to look at it. Also, if you want to, we'll have 3 entire links in this description. Another one to our podcast called the Awesome Padron Podcast. You can go over there to our YouTube channel, the Awesome Padron Podcast, or you can go to Google Play, iTunes, or Spotify because we're on those 3 things too. Anyways, guys, you can comment in the comments below, and you can let us know what you thought about this video. Let us know what you thought about Ben Shapiro's video. If you disagree with it, if you agree with it, please explain why. Please explain why you agree with it, because it's not a really well put together video. Yeah, a really well put together review. But yeah, just let us know in the comments below what you thought about everything, and also I don't know. I mean. I thought I was going to say something else, but
don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2 Awesome Men.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and you will see us later.